onto the ground, and as you can see, we are looking at the very beautiful and quite brand new FlightFX Cessna Citation X for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. We can go to walk around mode and we can take a quick look around this beautiful aircraft. Okay, so the modeling, the 3D modeling is not too bad at all. It is done to a good standard, acceptable standard here. Good details, good resolutions on the textures. Very decent. Might not be the very best in the world, but according to me, it has a very good balance between visual fidelity and performance, which I feel is the best way to go for a flight sim, right? And yeah, so I think they've done a really good job. The landing gears and everything look good. You can read all the labels very clearly. So yeah, very nice. The engines are really beautifully done as well. We'll take a look at them. You know what? We can actually remove the covers right now. But the good thing about this aircraft is that we can also remove the covers and the chocks and all that stuff from the inside using the EFB. So we don't have to do the walk around mode if we don't want to, which to me is absolutely what I'm looking for. Right? So sometimes you just can't be bothered to do the walk around. You want to get in and get rid of everything quickly from the tablet. You can do that now on this aircraft. So that is absolutely brilliant. I feel like all developers should use that. So that is a plus point I would like to say. But for now, we're just going to get rid of all these covers here now that we're outside. Let's open our aircraft here. Very nice animation on that door. Look at how good that is. Look at that. And we don't just automatically jump inside. So that means that we can actually take a look very nicely from the outside with the door open. Again, this is just perfect. This is how it should be developed in my opinion. So that's really cool. Off to a nice start here, right? So yeah, let's head into the aircraft there. So the interior looks quite nice. It looks well done. In my opinion, this is exactly the level of texturing that I want. I'm not really looking for anything more than this. Anything less than this might be, you know, a little too obvious. But as you can tell, the seats are done so nicely. Very nice textures there. There's a little bit of weathering all across the cockpit. Not too much, just the right amount. Very nice. There's a very nice, simple but effective EFB included, which we're going to take a closer look at. And if we come up here, we can take a closer look at the texturing here up on the, basically the dashboard, if you want to call it. But it looks really nice. So this is exactly what you want. Overall, very well done cockpit. Beautiful textures all around, and most of the switches work. Almost everything is clickable. The circuit breakers are not modeled, but that I'm not complaining about. For $30, I think this is a very good aircraft from first impressions, right? I have not flown it a lot, obviously. It's very new, but yeah, from first impressions, it's a really good aircraft. We can open the door. That's a cockpit right there. Look at the animations on that. Just perfect, crisp animations. And the best part about it, look at the level of detail at the rug, in the rug. Look at that. Absolutely crazy good texture right there. Okay, and if we come here, almost everything is interactive. We can open up almost all the drawers, and they all have some relevant items in there like you would expect to find in a private jet or a corporate jet. Look at all of that. Absolutely, I feel like for $30 they've done a great job. The price is so justified. Okay, this is one of those aircrafts where I feel like I've made a good purchase, and there's not a lot of aircrafts that I can say that on, especially for the average consumer. Spending money on an aircraft, on a sim where you've already invested so much money, it's not ideal, but this one is worth it, guys. Look at that. Very nice. It's so much fun. Okay, really is. And the best part is, even with all of this in here, I've gotten good performance on my previous flight with this thing. We've got the fold-away tray tables as well, as expected. Very common, but look at how beautiful that is. Not really cool. Very good texture on the seat, just the right amount. Look at how good that looks. Look at the texturing on that leather, man. That is some good stuff. All right. Very nice. The sounds are good too. Yes, the sounds are good too. For 30 bucks, we've got master shades close, and as you can see, all the windows, they close. The shades on the windows close. That is so cool. We press open and they go back up. That is just, I haven't seen that yet. That is so cool. Let's take a look at the EFB. Now the best part that I found, look at that. We can play around with the EFB, angle it how we want, rotate it. They've really thought about this hard, and I like that. I really like that. Look at that. We can just reset the position right there. Very easy to work with. We can stow it away into the pocket down here, bring it back up. Really cool stuff. Anyway, so let's take a quick look at the EFB. Now, if you look at the EFB, you'll be able to see that you've got the time, the date, and all of that stuff. You've also got your weather in the present position right here. If you're using Navigraph, you can use that right here, integrated. You've got a generic map right there. You've got your weights. Now, it's a simple setup here for your weight and balance, but it's effective, right? So if you want to import your data from SimBrief, you can, which we will today. So I'm just going to go ahead and say import, and there you go. Just like that, you've got your data from SimBrief imported, and it's working quite well for me. You can also individually change the weight of each passenger and pilot if you want. You can control your cargo if you want. You can control your fuel right here using that slider really well. Or you can just import your data from SimBrief. Not a problem at all. So this might look very simple, but it's effective, which I really, really like. Now, if we come to ground services, like I said, you can remove all of this stuff from the inside and it will work just fine. Just to show you that, I'm going to put back the chocks, the engine covers and the instrument covers. If we jump outside, we can see that, there we go. All of those have come back right on the aircraft. And if you want to remove them, you can just do that and they'll go away just like that. Okay, so for now, we'll leave the chocks on. We'll attach the ground power as well, right? Yeah, let's do that. And we can also open the luggage door if we want to. Let's take a look at the luggage door. Very, very cool. Let's try close it really quickly. Lovely animations there included as well, right? So we'll leave it like this for the time being. And now let's go ahead and get this aircraft started up from cold and dark. To get ourselves started up, first things first, we'll come here to this panel right here. We can turn on our external power like so. And there we go. We've got stuff powering up right there. We can turn on standby power. We can turn on emergency lights. We can arm them. And then we can get that up. Avionics power on both sides. We can turn that up there. We can leave the right and left hand generators on there in advance. We can turn on the batteries as well. We could start with that. Doesn't really matter. In this aircraft, to start up, we don't need to do anything with the ignition or the fuel boost. You can just leave them on the normal setting and they should be taken care of automatically by the aircraft. Let's head over to the co-pilot's side there. We can turn on the seatbelt signs. We can turn on nav lights. We can, you know what, we'll also put the engine, we'll put on the ground, what is it, ground recall, anti-collision lights. We'll put them on. No, we'll leave them for the time being. We'll leave them for the time being in this setting. Recognition lights, we'll turn them on in a bit. Tail floodlights, we don't really need that today. Now, if we come here, the APU is right here on the right-hand wall of the co-pilot, and we can turn on the master power, which brings these displays to life. And then we can start the APU just like that. We can leave the APU generator on, and the bleed, we can leave it on there as well. So APU will come to life. We can also monitor the APU right here from our screen. If we press there and go to APU, there we go. We can watch as it comes to life, okay? In the config section, you can change quite a bit. You can either fly with or without the auto throttle module. I fly with it. You can change the screen style from LCD to CRT. So you can have LCD screens if you want to. I prefer the CRT, you know, just to keep it a little old-fashioned there. We can turn off and on the passengers if you want. Got the IRS, state loads, units. Today we are flying this way. Calibration of the throttles, and you can select a food service apparently. Let's go ahead, get the IRS stuff, yeah? So to do that, first we're going to come here, go to position initialization. And we've got the GPS 1 position, and we're going to load that here. While that's happening, we're going to come here and put our navigation systems or reference systems, whichever it is, to nav, and we're going to wait for that to align, which doesn't, well, I have it set on fast align, so it will be aligned in no time. Okay, if we go to flight plan, origin is OMDB and our destination today is OOMS, which is Seeb International, near Muscat, Oman. Okay, that is where we're going. We can also go to nav. If we press nav, we can come to SimBrief. We can go to flight plan recall here, and we're requesting our flight plan directly from SimBrief. That's going to save us a bit of time. We don't have to input everything manually. So there you go. We've got our flight plan loaded in quite nicely here. Okay, so let's go to departure first. Out of OMDB, which runway are we using today? Let me take a quick look. Out of OMDB, we're taking off from runway 30 left. We're going to put that in there. And we're going to use the ANVI 7 Foxtrot departure right there. There you go. We can activate that right there. We can go back to the nav page, come to arrival, into the airport at Seeb, Muscat. We're going to fly into runway 08 left, and for that we're going to use today the ILS approach. Okay, we've got all of that. We're going to activate that, and that should come into our flight plan, and we'll look for some discontinuities. There should be. There it is. We're going to delete that, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think there's our flight plan. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Now let's continue on with our performance initialization. We're going to cruise at or climb at 0.8 rather. So that is the setting. You can change it here if you want. Right here, you can change the different climb modes if you want to. I'm not going to. Okay, so you can, how do you go back on this thing? There you go. You can go back there. You can go to performance and performance initialization. Go to the next page. And you can change, similarly, you can change the cruise here as well. But we're going to go max speed on the cruise, okay? So next page there. Transition altitude in Dubai is 13,000 feet. It is not 18, so we need to change that to 13,000. That is fine. Initial cruising altitude, it's given at 29,000. I want it to be 33,000, okay? So I'm going to go 330 here. Oh, sorry. It's not letting me do that. Let's see. Maybe I might be able to change it. Oh, there you go. You can change it. 33,000. There you go. You just had to type in the whole altitude there. Anyway, next page. We've got the weights and fuel, I believe, right? We can just sync it right from the EFB there. Everything from SimBrief will come in and we can confirm that data. And we'll move on to the next stage. So, cruising altitude 33,000 feet, ceiling at 47,000, everything else looking good. Next page. That is fine. We can move on. Take off. Outside temperature at 14 degrees Celsius today. We need to put the wind. We can do that right now. And 8 knots. So we've got that set in. There we go. That's done. Next page. Nothing to do here really. Unless the runway is wet, which it isn't. You can select that easily over here. Very good. Moving on, takeoff weight, this is all done automatically. Flaps 15 for takeoff today, anti-ice off, confirm that data, and we move on to the next page. Very easy to go through the flow on this particular system here. Moving on, we've got our V speeds here, 120, 123, 129, that's done. Let's move on to climb, 330 as our climb altitude. Speed, 300.8 Mach while we climb out. Let's move on to cruise. 330 at cruising altitude, obviously. 326 Mach 0.90 for our cruising speed. That is good. Descend. Speed, again, 300 knot descent, 3 degrees down. That's not a problem. Come down to landing here. Just for the sake of, having something here for the time being, I'm just going to input the temperature here, 28 degrees. And 70/4. Okay, that's not too bad. We'll put that in. Next page. Again, you can select the runway conditions and all of that at your destination. You can do the same with the landing data. We're landing with anti-ice off and our flaps at 35, and that is done. Okay, and just like that, we are pretty much done. There is your landing data, meaning your landing weight and your reference speed for landing. We come back to flight plan and we're done with the FMC. Look at that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start up the engine. We'll start with the right hand side. We'll press that. N2 is rising. And you press the throttle like that. You can hear the bleed air and all that being managed automatically for you. No need to do anything here. Take a look at it from outside. There we go. It doesn't take long for the engines to start up at all. Okay. And just like that, we've got the engines running. Pretty much. There you go. Okay. N2 at 64 and N1 at 22. Once that's done, let's go ahead and start the left-hand engine. Same procedure. Very, very simple and straightforward. There you go. And press. Let's see. Can we hear anything from this side? We can turn on our pitot and static heats or whatever we need to do now. We can turn on all the lights if we wanted to. You know, it doesn't really matter. Floodlights can remain off if we wanted to. We'll turn them on too. Why not? Full house for the time being. Obviously, the taxi and landing lights are right here behind the throttle quadrant. That's something interesting about the aircraft. It's not here. Anti-ice, we don't really need anything here. As long as everything here is white, that means we're good. If it's not white, that means there's something we need to take care of. Obviously, it says no takeoff parking brake on for the moment. APU is still on. We can turn that off now. We don't need it. So we can start off by turning off the bleed air, turning the generator off, just like that. And we can stop the APU there as well. As you can see, RPM is going down. And we can turn this off. We don't need to wait for the RPM to spool down all the way. The autopilot can be adjusted from these knobs right here, okay? Pretty much. That's what can be done. So we've got the altitude here, we've got the heading knob here, and the course knob here. Now, obviously when you're flying, to keep looking at the pedestal is quite difficult. So they've given us a workaround for that. That is, we've got these three screws right here. And these can be used to alter the CDI, as you can tell. Look at that. The altitude can be set from here as well, right here, and the heading too. See? So that means that we don't need to look down at the pedestal whilst trying to fly the aircraft, which is really, really convenient and a problem we have with a lot of other aircraft models. So that's really nice. And they're labeled too. We're going to climb out directly towards our cruising altitude of 330. Let's set that up right there. Very nice. We can arm, if we want to, the nav up here. We can arm a VNav. On both the flights that I've done with this aircraft, I have had a look at it. I think I've performed 1 or 2 flights with it. VNav did not work on the climb out, but it did work perfectly fine when we were descending. We'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if that's how the aircraft is in real life or if that's something that's not yet implemented. We can press this button right here, and that will give us this takeoff. We also need to set our trim here for the stabilizer, and we're going to do that right now. So you can observe it right here. We just need to put it in the green. So we'll do that. So we'll put that somewhere there, and there we go. We're good. We're okay for takeoff. Let's turn on the taxi lights. Taxi lights on. Let's release the parking brake. Okay. We don't need to worry about this. All right. As long as it's white, we're good to go. We're moving. We can turn ourselves sharply here and taxi on towards runway 30 left for takeoff out of Dubai towards Oman. So if we come here, look at that. Cabin lights. We can dim them. We can brighten them from right here. That is so cool for me. Okay, we can control the shades. I already showed you guys that. Obviously the cabin entry thing, look at that. There are lights here as well where we can control the cabin entry lighting if we wanted to. That is really, really nice. So yeah, just wanted to show you guys that. Animated passengers all looking cool. All right. Let's close up the cabin door, shall we? We need to do that. There we go. let's continue our taxi. Releasing parking brake. Open up the throttles a little bit and let's get going. Looking good. Okay, we're gonna have the auto throttle system set to FMS. Okay, so it's automatically managed. We could obviously have it in manual mode as well. So we're gonna put the brakes on there, right there. We're gonna put the parking brake on for a second. We're gonna turn off our taxi lights. We're gonna turn on our landing lights. Every other light is already turned on and we don't need to worry about anything else here. Okay, everything is looking good and we can pretty much go for takeoff. Okay. V1 rotate and the aircraft lifts off so nicely there. Gear up, we got positive rate. Ooh, that's a little steep there. There we go, nice and easy. Following the flight directives pretty much. Okay, autopilot on, we could turn on that. We could slowly begin to put our flaps up here. Speed is automatically being managed. VNAV is not exactly doing its thing per se. If I turn that off, it's just gonna maintain the current pitch, right? So I'm just gonna go to flight level change pretty much. There we go. So like I said, VNAV doesn't exactly work. Oh, I don't know if there may be something wrong with what I'm doing, but it doesn't exactly work, okay? Nice sounds, decent sounds. For $30, oh, look at that view. Very nice bursting through those clouds, huh? But for $30, I'm enjoying this so far. I've barely flown it, but it's really fun. Oh, we do need to turn on our transponder there, so we did that. Forgot about that, but that's okay. We've got terrain and traffic. We can display whatever we need to. Wind components are shown like this, or we can just see the vector, whatever you want. We can show airports there if we want to. It's a really cool aircraft. Really, really cool. And I'm loving these CRT displays. You can tune your radios both for comm and nav, either from here or from the FMC here, whichever you prefer. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Good. Good, good, good. Look at that. We've passed 10,000 feet. We need to turn off this. We're coming up on 13,000 feet, which is where we need to set our barometric pressure to standard. Minimums can be set up from right here. Can go for like 200. And we can change that to radio. We could have done this right before approach. Oh, we've got a little bit of a problem. Nav mode disengaged there. But yeah, I've turned it back on there. So if you're changing modes here, just be aware that you'll mess around with this. Which kind of makes sense, but you just have to be aware of it, that's all. So our flaps are still down at position 5, and that's why we're not climbing out at the correct speed that we were looking at while we were setting up the FMC. There you go. That is totally my mistake. Let me know what you guys think about this aircraft, or whether you're considering buying it. Like I said before, my recommendation is pretty much, yeah, buy it. And I'll be able to say for sure once we come into our landing. Okay, let's go ahead and set our altitude at 2,200. Okay, and that will automatically begin our descent. So as we pass top of descent, it should automatically begin descending. Little concerned about that. I hope that's a missed approach, not something on the flight plan, because if it is, that means we've got a little bit of an error and we need to reorganize ourselves, but yeah, not a big deal. There we go. Engines pulling back down towards our descent speed, which is again 280, I believe, somewhere there. Okay, we've just broken out of the clouds there, and look at that lovely, oh, we got icing. We got icing. We need window heats. Come on, we didn't turn that on, did we? Below 10,000 feet. Let's turn on our landing lights there. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go to manual speed here, and I'm going to reduce it now to 168. I'm going to bring down our flaps quickly. Turn on approach mode. Drop the gear. Look at that. We're rushing a little bit. We've got the localizer and we've got the glide slope there as well. Runway ahead of us. We have visual, ladies and gentlemen, and we can now reduce our speed down and we can drop our flaps. We can turn on our taxi light in advance. VREF is 119, so 124. I'll put 124. There we go. 1,000 feet. Disengaging autopilot. High aircraft. Five knot crosswind. 4 knot headwind. Very nice. Okay. Coming in. Float there. Okay. Down and reverse engaged. That is not too bad. That is not too terrible. Reverse disengage there. We can just let ourselves run off there. It could have been a little better. I was off to the right hand side of the runway there, but you know, not too terrible at all. Not too terrible at all. So yeah, I'm gonna turn off that landing light there. So we're gonna take a look at the landing replay now. We'll see how we did. Flaps can go up there. A little bit of rough turning there. Not a problem. Not a problem. So I'm gonna get the APU running for the time being. Okay. Master on, please. APU start. I'm gonna get the APU gen there. Bleed air. We don't need the bleed air for the time being, do we? I'll leave it on. What the hell? Okay, we'll put that parking brake on right there, and let's go ahead and take a look at how we did at the landing. All right, let's take a look at that replay. What a beautiful jet this is, huh? Very, very beautiful jet. I look forward to downloading some really cool liveries for this thing. Hopefully they make some good liveries. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's okay. Interesting landing there, to say the least. Okay, and those bucket reverses right there. Very, very cool. Let's take a look at that replay from another viewpoint, shall we? Yeah, I drifted off to the side there. That was totally unnecessary, but touched down a little funny. But, you know, nonetheless, it is okay. Great. All right. That was fun.